Are they wrong? Are they right? Not really, because those who are crushing it and doing so well, I do believe that they found a way to be able to invest based on what their strengths are, what they understand, and what matters to them the most. And I do think that's the most important thing when you start investing. It's all about investing in what you know, what you understand, and what you have the most conviction in. Hey guys, so in this video, I want to talk about the advantages of investing in the Philippine stock market versus investing in the US stock market. Over the past few months, I've made videos talking about the advantage of investing in the US stock market, where you get to have exposure to technology stocks. As what we've seen also when COVID hit, we saw a lot of the stock market world get battered, but because people stayed at home and technology just kept moving forward, we've seen a lot of technology stocks from Apple to Tesla to Microsoft. When everything locked down in March 2020, they zoomed up. And because there was an excess of liquidity, the money flowed into the stock market. Also, the crypto market also followed suit. And we talked about a lot of the big brands are mainly also, as what you can see in the US markets, from McDonald's to Starbucks to Coca-Cola, and so much more. And I think that's one of the biggest underlying advantages of investing in the US stock market, is that you have the ability to be able to see companies that have global recognition, that have a global brand, that have a global following, and you add to the fact that you have technology stocks as well. But that being said, there's a lot of merit in investing in the Philippine stock market. I've seen what are the advantages and what's the biggest merit of investing in the Philippine stock market. Please do remember this, that the US market is one of the biggest markets, most liquid markets around the world as well. But there's no such thing as a perfect investment. There will always be cons to each investment out there. That's why when I was investing in the Philippine stocks, primarily, they weren't investing in the Philippine markets, but they were focused on the US stock market. And even now, I've seen people that are purely into the US stock market and are not touching the Philippine markets as well. Are they wrong? Are they right? Not really, because those who are crushing it and doing so well, I do believe that they found a way to be able to invest based on what their strengths are, what they understand, and what matters to them the most. And I do think that's the most important thing when you start investing. It's all about investing in what you know, what you understand, and what you have the most conviction in. One of the biggest advantages I do believe when you start investing in the Philippine stock market is that you are familiar, you have local market knowledge on the companies, the brands that have stayed here over a period of time, regardless of what happens politically. You've seen certain businesses that have continued to thrive. SM has done that. Ayala has done that. Knowledge is what you have because you live in the country. That's your edge versus people who don't know anything about the Philippines. The second advantage of investing in the Philippine stock market is that the names of the companies that have staying power, that you know also that are run well, they're a handful. I mean, it's not saying that the other companies are not good. There are companies already that you know that have a track record, that have been there, that have stood the test of time, that are pretty much doing well. And I guess what's interesting about the companies here in the Philippines is that they're relatively more conservative, but because they're also more conservative, when crisis hit, they're not as affected. When there are collapses similar to what happened in 2008, they're not as affected, similar to what happened in 2020, because there are a lot of companies that are more conservative. They know how to protect themselves when times are bad. They may miss some of the upside also because they're not as aggressive, but if you're the type of person that's not as aggressive in deploying your capital, the stock market in and of itself already has some level of volatility. But if you're the type of person also that you are okay with investing in the stock market, but you can't take companies that you don't know where they will be over the next 10 years. And I do think that's one of the advantages of companies in the Philippines. A handful. If you look at the C's, SM, they own a lot of companies. Look at the Ayalas. Their entire conglomerate is exposed into banking. They're into telecom. They're into broadband. They're into hospitals. They're into cars. There's a lot of things that you can actually explore already based on those handful of companies already that have very, very good track records. That alone could be your edge already. That alone, your knowledge on the companies, your knowledge on the people behind it, your knowledge on the track records of those companies, I do believe is what's gonna push you even further. Lastly, and this, I'm just gonna make it super simple, it reduces your currency risk. What do I mean about that? If you're earning in peso and you're using that peso and swapping it into dollars to invest in US stocks, then you're subjecting yourself to currency risk. And the fact that if you're using a credit card to be able to transfer, to be able to swap, you're already adding to your costs there as well. Or also, if the stock that you bought went up, but the currency went the other direction, you could probably even lose money or just break even. Whereas if you're investing purely in the Philippine stock market, you're not thinking about anymore the price of the dollar. You're not anymore thinking about all of those other factors. You're only thinking about peso and how the stock would perform also, because everything is in just one currency. But also, let me balance it out. It could be also a pro, it could also be a con, in a way that if you're purely exposed to the peso, if something happens to the peso or if something happens to the Philippine economy also, then you'd also be affected. But if you're looking at it purely from a currency risk perspective, then I do believe that's one of the biggest advantages of investing in the Philippine stock market. The Philippines is basically predictable. It's overseas remittances, it's the BP sector, and it's consumption. That theme, that narrative hasn't changed. Of course, there are certain things that, depending on the times, like for now, as you can see, everyone's back to traveling. People who have not traveled for years are the ones that are revenge traveling. And that's why you see airline companies, hotels, and companies that are exposed to travel, they're the ones that are doing well also right now. The ones that were suppressed during COVID, they're the ones that are also crushing it. But generally, it's predictable. Consumption-driven economy, OFW remittances, and the BPO sector. So you could use all of that knowledge, your local knowledge, as an edge that you actually have. Or you may be working in a particular industry, and that is your edge. You don't have to look for companies that you don't know, you don't understand, you don't have to look at hype, you don't have to speculate. Only invest in what you understand, and that's your advantage as you are investing in the Philippine markets. And the predictability of the companies that are there, their longevity and their track record, plus you reduce yourself to the exposure of currency risk. And I think those are the advantages of investing in the Philippine markets. Can you think of others? Do you have other suggestions on what's the biggest advantage of investing in the Philippine markets versus investing in the US markets? It's nice to invest in both. It's nice to invest both in the Philippine and US stock markets. But this video is highly focused on the advantage of purely investing in the Philippine markets as well. Do you agree with what I said? Do you have any questions about it? Do you have any suggestions? Is there anything that you want to also add to this conversation? Put it down below. If you want deeper insights on investing in the Philippine stock market, check out the links down below. I have webinars, I have books that I've written, and I have thousands of videos in this channel, all aimed to help you grow in the knowledge of investing. So that's it for now. This is Marvin Germo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless you all.